D and our map open. Just consuming data. All right. You're gonna have fun with my resolution again. All right, so let's look at pipe issues. First off, when you edit pipes, if you want to move their location X, Y, the best way to do it is to move structures by their grip without the AutoCAD move command. Pick up the structure by the grip and move it where it needs to be. The pipes should follow. You can even pick up the structures, I think, by like their endpoints or along an edge and move them somewhere, and the pipe should still follow. It's time to replace your lamp. So, here we go again. People ask, let me see if I can reduce this. Okay, all right, there you go. I got a tiny little box here, but you guys can see it. So I split my screen a lot so I can see profile plan or plan in 3D. And I told you about this. All of these controls right here. This first one with the minus sign, click it. Viewport to vertical. And zoom in. You get your profile and your pipes. And let's take a look at what we have. So it looks like I have some storm sewers here. In another file. Oh, there we go. All right. So this is what I was saying. Watch what happens if I pick up and move this pipe. And using the AutoCAD move command. Kind of left that structure behind, right? But if you pick up the structure and move it, the pipe will fall. If you do the latter, move this, or the former, and they don't appear to connect, set your snap to the insertion point and just drag your structure right on top of itself, and the pipe should go right back. I lied. Okay, well, it used to. Maybe this is a new function of the Civil 3D update that we just got. In any event, better to move your structures with the grips than moving pipes. There are methods to, if you right-click a pipe, you can connect. You can see this one just got disconnected. But you will more than likely need to readjust your inverts, maybe. So, profile issues. Sometimes you're down here because you actually have a pipe coming in down below. You need to check the inverts of the pipes coming in. And better yet, go to your structure properties, go to your connections and make sure it's only the 2 you expect, or 3 you expect, whatever you have connected. If you see an extra one, there's an extra pipe there somewhere that was drafted that needs to be removed. And you can find that and just delete that in the tool space. You can dig in and select your pipes individually, right click. If you have nothing selected, you can select or delete it right there. Your structures, hopefully you have one with a grip on the bottom. You can just take it and drag it up.
Just use my grip is like a foot above the bottom. So I'm like I have a mandatory little basin. That
You
I
mean
can
you
grip.
have a foot here or a foot here?
A foot, the first one.
This one?
Yes.
Okay. It's showing your floor depth.
Right.
And or sump depth. So you can right click. If you drag this up, it should set your sump depth to 0. If you have that, some structures don't have that bottom grip. If not, you can go into your part properties, in your structure properties, and you should be able to change a sump if it's in there to 0. Hit apply to make sure it holds, and it did hold there. You can also see if you can change your floor thickness. Notice the ones I have a 0 floor thickness, which you can't get out of the box.
You gotta go into the part builder.
Yeah, or yeah, you're gonna have to go into Part Builder for that, absolutely. All right, but if you do have a floor thickness and it shows up like that, that's fine.
Okay.
All right. If it's more than that, floor thickness, there's something wrong with that.
Okay.
All right, so, freezing your corridor, but not your surface. Number 1, your corridor should not be in your sheets. So if this is for your plan sheet, hopefully, you'll reconsider. When you make your sheets for your maps, you should be referencing in the final surface only. All right, with a data reference, you can put your contour labels on it right inside the sheet. But if I open a drawing, this is going to go a little bit into your, not a little bit, but into your styles. Because you see me in here isolate a surface layer, isolate or freeze a corridor layer, freeze and thaw my utilities just by clicking with the layer button. Civil 3D is not set up to work like that by default. What you will need to do is, number 1, show one of your surfaces, right? Because your corridor, try picking it up and putting it onto a layer called corridor. Make a new layer in your drawing, select the corridor, move it to a new layer. Ask for your styles. Let's just look at our basin. Select. And let's give it 1 foot contours. So this is the surface, right? The contours here. And the grading is like the corridor in this situation. But your surface has a style. And in Civil 3D, all of your styles go to specific layers and then your objects actually go to a different layer, which is really weird. And that's why they introduced that whole isolate object button down there, which is, to me, just more nonsense to learn that you don't really need to learn. If you just go into your style, all right? When you get done with this, you guys should need 2 surface styles. 1 pipe style, 1 catch basin style, you know what I mean, for your project, 1 manhole style. Copy the style, put all the layers to layer 0. Just come in here, Control A, select them all, everything that's on, click the layer, put it onto layer 0. Once you do that, you'll be able to pick up your surface and move it to any new layer you want, and all your layer commands will work. And it's the same with pipes, it's the same with structures, points, parcels, whatever you have. Alright, and it probably will come in useful when you're making your sheets and you actually have 3 surfaces. Right, you're gonna have the existing ground before any construction and the proposed ground of the road and the basin. And then you have a second existing ground, which is those first 3 combined. And then you'll have your residential grading on top of that as proposed. Is that good? Are we good with the pipe issues, profile? Did you get it to work in yours?
Yeah, it's the thickness.
Okay. In Part Builder, you can open it. You open up that part.
Right.
There's a button to save as a new name.
Okay.
Give it a new name for yours so you never overwrite it when you update.
Okay.
Go in there, there's values, calculations. You change, instead of it as a computed floor thickness, you change it to a list.
Okay.
You can put in different values you want to use.
Gotcha.
All right, but don't do that for this project. All right. Basin grading. Let's do this. Erase. Now I'm gonna come to my sites. I have basin. I have a grading group, and I'm just gonna delete it.
Sorry, question. Like when you click on your surfaces and you see how the bottom screen pops up, how do you get that to pop up?
What
It's like
screen?
the-
That little, this, it's not, this one?
No, when you went just back, I think it's tool space that you were just in. When you're in tool space and you click on the surface, you see the bottom box and then description. How do you get that to pop up?
This one?
Yeah.
That should appear. It may be really small. You may have to drag it up. But that should be on by default. It's not one of these. Yeah, that should be on by default, this list. If it's not, there are usually other ways. You can usually do stuff in here as well. But this list should be on. If you're not seeing it, I would try doing a repair of the program. What's that?
Yeah, what does that mean? Repair the program?
You have to go to the Add Remove Programs dialog in Windows, and there's a button to reinstall or modify, and it'll go through a repair process.
Okay.
If it's the school's computer, good luck, I'm sorry. Alright, so, what do I have here? Feature line, and a feature line. So here's a little tip for when you start doing your residential grading. If you have a feature line and the elevations are all the same, and you explode it, you get a polyline. If there is one elevation that varies from all the others, you get a 3D polyline, which means that you lose curves. But I'm starting my basin with a polyline for the bottom. Just the bottom of basin, a closed polyline. Let me show my existing ground surface. I have it on a frozen layer. And now we can see the contours. And you can see that I have my basin run, go away. I said go away. There you go. Notice that I have my basin running pretty parallel to the contours, not perfect, but relatively parallel. And I looked at these two grades and I probably put this about 2 or 3 feet deep to start. Right? I like to put my basins into cut, and I think I told you guys why. Why do I not want to put a big old mound of dirt around here and bank water?
Affects the ground table, the groundwater.
Not really, but that is a concern if the groundwater table is high, yeah. If I dig in here, am I probably gonna hold the water? If I fill a bathtub, do I know that that earth is gonna hold that water without engineered soils? Right, so if you put your basin above ground, it's usually a lot more expensive. You might be putting impermeable layers in there. You may need to calculate dam effects and the stability of those walls. So you try to get your basin pretty much into a cut situation. That's why I would look at this contour elevation, 363, 364, and probably start off at this at 360. I am starting off with this at 357, even lower. Let's go up to what I said to start at, 360. And it's just a polyline. What I'm doing is I'm using projection gratings. Google Civil 3D projection gratings or grading tools. Grading tools is a better search. And what projection grading does is, let's say I'm building a concrete patio. It's a concrete patio. And I know what this elevation is, right? I'm designing basically a flat concrete pad. Maybe I've got a little bit of slope on it. But I know what this elevation is. And what I want to do is I want to project out maybe 20 feet at 2%. So I have a level area for trucks to go around. And still I can drain water away from it. And then I may want to project up or down into a surface. So it allows me to take an elevation and just shoot a ray at a percent grade, a slope ratio, at a specific distance, or even target surfaces. So when you use your grading tools, you generally need to make a grading group. I made one called Basin, and a grading group named Basin. You're going to be targeting a surface, so you choose your target surface. Of course, that would be the existing ground, these surrounding contours. And you can set your layers if you want. And these are your grading criteria. And your criteria will look different than this, but they will have the same function and meaning, you just gotta get the right words. And you can choose them out, you can copy these and make new ones, to make them work as you want, and just change the different criteria, if you wanted to grade to a surface or a specific elevation, or grade out at a distance. And you can change how you report slopes and distances. But your basin, I gave you guys a section. It's basically 5 feet deep. It's got 1 on 2. It's got 2% in for like 3 feet. And then this would be your daylight, much like the corridor, where we know this elevation, we can compute this, but we don't know if the existing ground is above or below us, so we need to shoot out a ray until we find it out there. All right, so given that I have the bottom, right, my polyline would represent these 2 points, the bottom of the pond, and I need to form another one up here. The gradings allow me to do that. And I have here a slope to a relative elevation. Remember, when you're using these tools, an absolute elevation would be, 497.23. A relative elevation would be 5 feet up from where you are, or 10 feet up from where you are. So I'm going to use a relative slope to a relative elevation. I'm going to make a grading. It's going to ask me to select a feature line. I selected a polyline. It knows to automatically convert it to a feature line. Make sure you put it in the same site as your grading. And there is my feature line now. And it's asking me to select a grading side, and I'm grading to the outside. I click out there. And it asks me if I want to go around the entire length. I'm going to say yes. And it's asking me now for the relative elevation, which I'm going to make 5 feet. And the slope, I'm going to type in 2 for 2 to 1. And it draws the outer upper feature line, which should actually be here, right, level, up there in the section. Now what do I need to do? I need to go out 3 feet at 2%. So I can come back to my grading criteria and see which one best fits what I need to do. And here I have percent grade at a distance. And I click my outer feature line again. And again, it's asking me if I want to go around the entire length. I say yes. The distance is going to be 3 feet, and the grade is going to be 2. All right, so as I said, we know all those elevations, but we're not really connecting into the existing ground. We don't think we are. In order to do that, I need, in the corridor, I use the daylight subassembly. What I do here is I just say I want a slope to a surface. This is that daylight. And I click again on the outer feature line. And it asks me for the entire length. I say yes. And I'm using a max cut slope of 3 and a max fill slope of 3. I've told you guys that's the maximum proposed slope that you're allowed for municipal ordinance. And there is my grading. I can see in 3D this is going up and I'm in a fill situation. So again, this would have to be engineered, soil if I was damming water on it, or engineered embankment. What I can do is I can just take that bottom feature line, the one I began with, and I have a raised lower, if I right click on it. And let's send it down minus 4 feet. And it rebuilds, and you can see now I have basically my whole basin now in a cut situation. And you can see where the green would be filled. You know, I could set it down a little bit more if I wanted, raise lower, put down minus 0.5. And that grading is awfully pretty, it's very nice, but it's not what our engineers are always asking for, which is contours. Your gradings are represented, you can't really see them, but there's 2 little green diamonds, or there's actually 3 of them, because I put 3 gradings in. 1, 2, 3. But those diamonds are your gradings. If you select one, and go to your grading properties, grading group properties, grading properties. No, I was wrong. I think I was right the first time. Grading group properties. Neither one is working. One of these should have, go to your tool space, I'm sorry, and find your grading, right click, properties, and in the grading group properties, I don't know why I didn't see this before, but we should have had this, you have automatic surface creation. You can give it a style. And what I told you is you want to reduce your tessellation spacing, because we have a tight curve down here. Change your tessellation spacing to 2 feet and the angle to 0.1 degree. Click OK, and it's going to make the contours. You don't see it because I either have the layer turned off or I have a style on it that's not showing. Well, my contours should be showing. I think I just have a lot of drawing errors. Alright, layer off. And I'm going to go to my site. If you guys had a new site, we won't have this issue. Oh, that's why there's no gradings in here. I'm in the wrong site. Where did I make that? I am going to have to close my drawing. Oh, there we go. They just appeared. Even though only some of them appeared. It doesn't have the daylight on there. But once you get those contours, and again, I have to close this drawing and reopen it. They should come back. What you would then do is we previously created a surface, and I told you to call it FG combined or FG final, and you paste it in your corridors, your intersections, your cul-de-sacs. Now you just paste in your basin. And that you would just Google Civil 3D paste surface. And then would give you one final surface with all those components all pasted together. And here we have that. I just want to go to my grading properties again. Alright, so now it found one of those gradings. My computer has been running all day, I am sorry, but I am experiencing technical difficulties. Grading properties, I think this is how we got it to come in last time. Yep, and you see my surface growing as I just get all those grading properties, alright. So I need to restart, but I'm not gonna do it right now because I got this working. Like magic, there's the contours. All right, but we talked about this last week. Does that look like it's gonna hold water very well over here in 3D? That looks like a donut, not a bathtub. VS, C for turn it on. And how we fix that is by using a grading infill. You create a grading infill just by clicking that unoccupied space, and it kind of like puts a floor onto that basin. And if I turn off this layer, here is my final FG surface. Again, one component with the intersections pasted together, the corridor, the intersection, the cul-de-sac, and the detention basin. And this is the surface that I'm going to data shortcut into my sheets, into my residential grading, into my earthworks that I'm going to get into right now. Good with the basin? Go ahead.
Why wasn't the contour showing up before?
My drawing is chock full of errors. I've been running it all day. I've been testing a bunch of stuff and doing things that I shouldn't be doing. So it's not running very well right now. Also, I don't know of any perfect software. I don't know of any software solution